فخر واللي بيقتل مدنيين مجرم.
Good afternoon on this Sunday, February 23rd. I'm Hina Naufal and these are today's headlines. 3 people are killed by a suicide car explosion targeting an army post in northeastern town of Hidimid. 2 UNIFIL soldiers are killed after their vehicle overturned in the southern town of Wazani. And at least 14 dead with a car bomb near a field hospital in northern Syria close to the border with Turkey. A suicide car explosion targeting an army post in the northeastern town of Hidimid killed 3, including 2 soldiers, and wounded 17 others on Saturday night. Reports say Army officer Ilyas Khouri, soldier Hamza Faitrouni, and Muhammad Ayoub were killed in the explosion. 4 soldiers were also among those wounded. The suicide bomber detonated the bomb after soldiers grew suspicious of him at a military checkpoint set up at the entrance of Hidimid. The Lebanon branch of the Nusra Front, a radical Syrian rebel force, claimed responsibility for the suicide bombing, saying it was part of a series of vengeful attacks. The group, listed as a terrorist organization by the United States, has vowed to carry out attacks in Lebanon in retaliation to Hezbollah's military role in Syria. Saturday's bombing is the second such attack this week, following twin suicide bombings near the Iranian Cultural Center just south of Beirut in Bir Hassan, which killed 10 people. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri hints over the weekend that he might return to Lebanon in the spring for the presidential election and defended his party against allegations that it was meddling in the Syrian crisis. He told an Egyptian channel during a television interview in Cairo that his return to Lebanon will depend on the political moment he sees fit. He said he will not be absent from the presidential elections that should take place, as he wants to be a part of it. He left Lebanon in early 2011, months after the collapse of his national unity government. And Hariri has repeatedly cited security concerns for his absence. He also spoke about the negotiations which led to the formation of a new government in Lebanon, saying deteriorating security and sectarian divisions prompted him to make sacrifices to safeguard the country. 2 soldiers from the United Nations interim force in Lebanon were killed after their vehicle overturned in the south of the country. The national news agency tells reporters that a soldier from El Salvador and another one from Spain were killed in the accident that took place in the Wazani region near the Israeli-occupied village of Ghajjar. 3 other soldiers were also wounded in the incident. President Michel Sleiman is offering his condolences to the victims of Saturday's bombing in the Bekaa region of Hidimid. He says the army has become the main target of terrorist attacks, and it realizes that it is paying the price for performing its national duties. He also called on the military and security forces to strengthen their will in confronting terrorism in order to protect the nation, its peace, people, and stability. This comes a day after the 3 people were killed, as aforementioned, including the 2 soldiers, and 16 wounded, 5 of which were also soldiers, in a car bombing against the army checkpoint in the Bekaa region of Hidimid. Now, Hidimid is a Hezbollah stronghold and has seen multiple attacks in recent months related to the war raging in Syria. However, until Saturday, the attacks had all killed civilians. At least 14 people have been killed by a car bomb near a field hospital in northern Syria, close to the border with Turkey. Activists say the blast happened in the rebel-held town of Atme, which hosts a camp for thousands of people displaced by Syria's civil war. It is not immediately clear who is carrying out this attack. It comes a day after the UN Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution demanding rapid, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access for UN humanitarian aid in war-torn Syria, where armed conflicts have been ongoing for nearly 3 years now. This was the first time the Council has united on the issue. Speaking of the UN, well, the Security Council achieved rare unity to act on Syria's civil war when Russia and China supported the adoption of a resolution to boost aid access in Syria that threatens to take further steps in the case of non-compliance. Now, Russia, supported by China, has shielded its ally Syria on the Security Council during the 3-year-long war. They had previously vetoed 3 resolutions that would have condemned Syria's government and threatened it with possible sanctions.
As hard as it was to finally achieve a Security Council resolution, passing today's resolution was the easy part. The hard and desperately necessary part is implementation. The world now needs to stand united on behalf of implementation so that there are no more broken promises, no more delays, no more coupling minor concessions with cruel and shameless attacks on civilians. It's the specificity of this resolution that I draw your attention to. The Security Council is famous for its generalized statements demanding progress and the like. This creates a set of very specific implementable provisions, and we will know whether they have been implemented and where they have not. The specificity of each of the besieged areas being named, the specific demand for cross-border, for the Syrian regime to allow cross-border access, the specific reference to barrel bombs.
Coming up next, the last survivor of the Sound of Music siblings, Maria Francisca Von Trapp, passes away at age 99. Stay with us. Welcome back. The whereabouts of Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych remain unclear. This comes a day after he left the capital and his archfoe Yulia Tymoshenko was freed from prison, returning to Kiev to address a massive adoring crowd. Reports say that a chartered airplane with Yanukovych on board was denied permission to take off from Donetsk, a city in eastern Ukraine that is the president's base of support. Meanwhile, the center of Kiev is calm the day after protesters took control of the presidential administration building and thousands of Ukrainians roamed the compound where Yanukovych lives. The parliament, which he controlled the previous day but is now against him, has called for his removal and for elections on May 25th. But Yanukovych has said he now regards the parliament as illegitimate and will not respect those decisions. A bomb wounded at least 16 people at an anti-government protest site in central Bangkok, hospital authorities are saying, hours after government supporters vowed to deal with the protesters. This is the latest flaring of violence in Thailand, as opponents of embattled Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra continue with a bid to shut down the capital and end her rule. Police reports say a 5-year-old girl was among those killed and at least 30 people were wounded after gunmen sprayed bullets at an anti-government rally in eastern Thailand. This all comes a day after unidentified gunmen on 2 pickup trucks opened fire on a packed marketplace in the Khao Saming district of Trat province where the rally was taking place. Until the attack, the sporadic violence that has marked the country's 3-month political crisis had taken place in or around Bangkok, where protesters are carrying out a self-styled shutdown of key intersections across the city. The head of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, has applauded the G20 agreement on targets for global growth. Speaking at the end of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in Sydney, Lagarde said there are still challenges ahead and that international cooperation would be needed to overcome them. But she noted that the prediction of hostilities between advanced and emerging nations did not come true. Individual G20 plans for growth will be taken to the Leaders Summit in the Australian city of Brisbane in November. The communiqué at the conclusion of the Group of 20 gathering included a pledge to take concrete action to increase investment and employment, among other reforms. Lagarde told reporters that the IMF was ready to help Ukraine. Major emerging powers, including India, China, Brazil, and Russia, have long lobbied for increased voting power in the IMF to reflect their growing share of the world economy, but the changes have been blocked by the U.S. Congress. Maria Francisca Von Trapp, the last survivor of the Austrian musical family whose escape from the Nazis was immortalized in The Sound of Music, has died. Her half-brother told U.S. media she was 99 years old. She died of her home in the northeastern U.S. state of Vermont of natural causes. Now, Francisca was one of the original members of the Trapp family singers group. She was the third of the 7 Austrian-born children of Captain Georg von Trapp and his first wife. The captain's second wife, Maria Kuchera von Trapp, famously portrayed by Julie Andrews in the 1965 movie The Sound of Music, wrote a book about the family which served as a basis for a Broadway production and the hit Hollywood film. The family fled Nazi-occupied Austria in 1938, moved to the U.S., and the following year settled in Vermont in 1942, where they opened a resort called the Trapp Family Lodge. They gave their final U.S. concert in 1956, according to the lodge's website. Now, The Sound of Music, the movie, won 5 Academy Awards and is one of the highest-grossing Hollywood movies of all time. Now, Michelle Obama, the U.S. First Lady, well, her appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon was anything but a drag. The same thing, however, couldn't be said for the newly minted Fable host who donned women's garb in a hilarious sketch featuring the First Lady and a cross-dressed Will Ferrell. The skit, titled Ooh, showcased the unlikely trio as teenage girls with Valley Girl accents having a slumber party. Take a look.
So, Mrs. Obama.
Oh, please call me Michelle.
Okay, Michelle. So, like, what's up? Have you been watching the Olympics?
Absolutely. I love seeing the best athletes in the world compete against each other.
Oh, me too. What's your favorite event?
Well, I enjoy them all, but one of my favorites is figure skating.
Me too.
Same person.
Triple hand hug. Wow, Michelle, you're pretty strong. You could totally be in the Olympics.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I do try to exercise every day.
Really? Because I think exercise is ew.
Exercise is not L. You just have to find an activity that's right for you. For example, I like to dance, play tennis, even do some push-ups.
Wait a second. Dancing is exercise?
Sure, as long as you keep moving around and get your heart rate up.
That totally just gave me an idea.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Ew!
Dance party!
Hey girls, what you doing?
Ew! It's my stepdad, Gara. And FYI, we're exercising.
And Stacy and Sarah are pretty good dancers.
Well, it's no surprise, because back in my day, when I was a boy, we used to do something called the jitterbug.
Ew! Get out, get out!
Okay.
Get out!
I'm leaving.
Get out!
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. 3 people are killed by a suicide car explosion targeting an army post in the northeastern town of Hidimid. 2 UNIFIL soldiers are dead after their vehicle overturned in the southern town of Wazani. At least 14 killed in Syria by a car bomb near a field hospital in the north of the country, close to the border with Turkey. Those wrap up your weekend headlines live on Future Television. In Beirut, I'm Nina Nofal, wishing you a good weekend.
اللي بيفخر واللي بيقتل المدنيين مجرم.